Julian SaYIN is a frontrunner to be Ohio State's QB1 in 2025.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Thursday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast, and today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. During today's show, we'll discuss the NFL team that is trying to pull Justin Frye from Ohio State, as well as a plan for Tavian St. Clair during his freshman season. But before we get to any of that, Julian SaYIN is a frontrunner to be Ohio State's QB1 in 2025. And if we were to go back to the end of the regular season, I would not have projected that we would have this conversation at this point of the offseason. Devin Brown, he went to the portal at the end of the regular season. Aaron Nolan, he also entered the portal. Will Howard can't play college football anymore. And among the top 5 guys in last year's QB room, there are only 2 that are still on the roster, Julian SaYIN and Lincoln Kienholz. And while Kienholz is more physically ready to be a starting quarterback at this level, Julian SaYIN has a better arm, he is the better processor, and he was at the higher spot in last year's depth chart. And all those are reasons why he is currently the front runner to be Ohio State's QB1 next season. While he is currently the front runner, that does not mean he is going to win the job. However, when I think about Julian SaYIN and what happened last year and what may happen over the next few weeks and months leading into spring practice, I think SaYIN is a guy that if he does everything like he needs to, he is going to win the job. That's a big, big if. Kienholz has been on the roster longer. He knows Ryan Day's coaching style. He knows what Ryan Day wants from a quarterback. He knows a system better than Julian SaYIN. While SaYIN has only been there for a year, what does he know? How to play football. Both of these guys know how to play football very, very well. I would caution everyone. I'm going to say this early in the show because I don't want people to think, well, let's compare the numbers from last year. You cannot compare their numbers from their time at Ohio State. And if you just stuck with their numbers of 2024, you cannot look at that and say, oh, this is going to tell me who's going to be the starting quarterback next year. Because if you look at Ryan Day's track record, okay, that may be a way to do that. That may not be. But one thing I think about Ryan Day's track record is that generally the older guy is going to win the job. Generally. It's not always going to be the case. Justin Fields was younger than Chase Chugunov in 2019, but everyone knew Justin Fields was more talented. Kyle McCord had been at Ohio State longer, and he was older than Devin Brown. And so that could have been a factor, but also he was the better quarterback. And if Devin Brown stayed, I don't think he would have won the quarterback battle. I had seen enough from Devin Brown to realize that I don't think he had what it takes to be a starting quarterback at Ohio State. Now, he went out to Cal, and Cal brought in a guy from Oregon, and so that's going to be his own battle right now to be a starting quarterback. Think about how weird that would be. If you battled twice at Ohio State to be a starting quarterback, you didn't win the job. You could have battled a third time. You said, my time in Columbus is gone. I'm going to go to the West Coast. He's closer to family, which is a benefit to any athlete, anybody at this level. If you're closer to family, sign me up. But let's just say he doesn't win that either. Think about how weird that would be. If I'm Devin Brown, what's going on, man? Why can't I win this job? I don't know. I think he's good. I think he's good enough to win it. And my gut tells me he's going to start out there at Cal, but who knows? And I say who knows when it goes out to Cal with Devin Brown. It's the same thing here. Let's just say that Julian SaYIN is not able to put on the necessary weight in the offseason. And let's just say leading into spring practice where they may have a goal weight for him, because honestly, when I look at the kid, he's very, very skinny. I mean, he's very, very skinny. It's one of those things that when I look at a quarterback and I think about what can a guy do to get better to play the sport, a lot of guys that are quarterbacks can simply put on weight. Now, you may say, Jay, that's going to mess up their throwing style. That's going to mess up the way they move in the pocket. That's going to mess up X, Y, or Z. Okay. Normally, that is something. Now, granted, that is a true statement, but it's not all. That's a statement to make. It's not the true statement. Every quarterback I know, from Tavian St. Clair when he was in high school to Julian SaYIN, to Lincoln Kienholz, look at Will Howard, look at every quarterback. Quarterbacks put on weight. Football players, athletes put on weight. In basketball, one thing that some guys don't want to do is lift weights. because they say that lifting weights is going to mess up their shot. Okay, what do we know? You got to lift weights to play in the NBA. A lot of guys in college don't want to touch a weight. I remember when I was in high school, there were some guys that were starters on the basketball team in the weight room, but they didn't want to touch a weight. That's the basketball mindset. It's just football. It's a more physical sport. It's a more grueling sport. You need to do a lot of things at a high level. And Julian SaYIN's going to have to put on weight. And I want to be very interested to see if that impacts how he throws the football. Well, I don't think it should impact how he throws the football. Well, I mean, it will to a degree. It may make his arm stronger. The motion may have to change slightly, but overall, it shouldn't really change much. And I just can't wait to see exactly what happens. I can't wait to see what he does and how physically more. I can't wait to see him more physically ready to play QB1 at Ohio State. I think when we get to spring practice, you're going to see a different mindset from both of these guys. From day one, really starting now, a different mindset, a mindset of them preparing to play the sport right at the highest level, to be the starting quarterback at Ohio State. Because as Ryan Day has said so many times, it doesn't get much better than being the starting quarterback at Ohio State. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Think about the pride that a Braxton Miller or Troy Smith or any other guys, or Will Howard or C.J. Stroud, think about the pride they had, not only in being a Buckeye, but also being the starting quarterback at The Ohio State University. That's a big, big deal. And I think for Julian SaYIN and Kienholz, they're not only going to battle to win the job because they're competitors, they understand what it means to be the starting quarterback at Ohio State. So moving forward, maybe you think one's going to be the front runner or is currently the front runner or the other. Cool. That's up for debate. We'll be talking about all of this all off season because it's that important. Ohio State had a great opportunity to win a national championship because of Will Howard. Yes, the defense was amazing. The coaches did a lot of things right. Justin Frye needs his flowers every day of the week and twice on Sunday. But Will Howard is a big reason why this team won the ultimate prize this year. And if Ryan Day didn't get that right, let's say Will Howard came in, his mechanics needed to be altered, he needed to speed up the way he processed things, and let's just say he wasn't able to do that, I don't think Ohio State would have been here. I don't think Ohio State would have been in the playoff at all. Because if Will Howard was the guy to start, but he wasn't good enough to get Ohio State to where they wanted to be, it's a good thought to have that Ohio State may have crumbled under pressure this year. That Will Howard maybe didn't bounce back like he did after the Oregon loss, or maybe he didn't bounce back after he did after that pick six at the beginning of the Penn State game. Who's to know what's to happen if Will Howard mentally is not ready to handle the high demands of being Ohio State's QB1? For SaYIN and Kienholz, there's high demands. They've seen it. SaYIN has seen it 1 year. Kienholz has seen it a couple. There are high demands to be the Buckeyes QB1. And one of those two guys, to me, is going to have the starting role next year. I think both guys are really talented. I think Kienholz's athleticism is going to keep this race a whole lot closer than a lot of people think it will be. But SaYIN has something different about him. SaYIN has a moxie about him. SaYIN has the X, Y, and Z that are traits that Ryan Day wants in a starting quarterback. That's why he was QB3 last year and is the front runner to be QB1 in 2025. In all of the back and forth between Kienholz and SaYIN, Tavian St. Clair is currently on the outside. I'll tell you why next. This episode is brought to you by GameTime. Attending NFL playoff games is an experience like no other. The energy, the excitement, and the connection with other fans are unmatched. I remember the thrill of seeing my favorite team clinch a playoff win live. Guys, it's a memory I'll never forget. This year, GameTime makes it even easier to create those unforgettable moments with their new feature, GameTime Picks. It filters out the fluff and shows you only the best deals on great seats so you can focus on what matters, being there. I used GameTime Picks to grab tickets for an upcoming playoff game, and it couldn't have been easier. I found a super deal that gave me incredible value for amazing seats, and I could even preview the view from my spot before buying. The all-in pricing is a game changer. No surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank y'all for tapping in Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. Some of you that have been only using the audio of the show this week have maybe noticing a little bit of a different sound through your speakers today. My normal microphone that I use had a messed up cord on Monday, and I had to use a different setup to record the show. We're back in business with your normal mic. And we're back in business with the normal mic. I have a fresh feeling. I have a different pep in my step. That's going to be the same way with Tavian St. Clair. Once he gets to the football field and the football things, he's able to get the football back in his hand. He's able to throw the football and do what he does best, which is play quarterback. Until that point in the offseason, Tavian St. Clair is going to have a lot of growing pains, which are expected from anybody. And I think what the plan for Tavian St. Clair moving forward is kind of like me when I had to go to something different to record the show. There are some kinks. There's some mental obstacles you have to go over because things don't sound right while you're editing. You're wearing a headset in a different way than you normally wear it for a show. There are a lot of little things that might be minor details to some, but then they could be big details and could be obstacles down the road. For Tavian St. Clair, these all-season workouts are going to be an eye-opener for him. I remember Caden Curry when he first got to campus a few years ago, and he talked about how the winter workouts, when he was an early enrollee, he talked about how grueling they were and how he felt his ab muscles afterwards be so tight and so intense because he didn't really work out his abs like that. And I bring that story up because of Tavian St. Clair, he is physically fit. He looks like he can play QB1 at this level right now, physically when he gets off the bus. But there are so many things about his body, about his mind, about just learning the playbook that are just going to be steps along the way for him to get more acclimated, for him to get adjusted, for him to get ready to play football at Ohio State. I hope no one right now gets upset when Tavian St. Clair is not Ohio State starting quarterback right in 2025. Don't do it. And if you do, cool. Family members and things like that, and I can't speak to y'all because maybe there's an auntie or there's an uncle or a cousin that says, no, my guy is the best among all of them. He needs to start. I don't mess with family, man. That's one thing I don't mess with when it comes to family and football. Hey, I'm not trying to be that guy. I will share my honest opinion, which is I don't think he's going to start, nor should he start. There's only one freshman that came in automatically and started that I can think of from Jump Street, even from spring practice at Ohio State in a very, 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 very long time. I can't think of another one outside of Jeremiah Smith. Many of you are very, very smart. We'll think back to the 2021 season when Denzel Burke was starting against Minnesota. And you may say, well, Jay, he started from day one. What are you talking about? He started because of an injury. Sevyn Banks was hurt, did not play in that game. Ultimately, Denzel Burke got thrust onto Front Street. And really, if he was healthy, he was playing, he was starting. Not he was playing. If he was healthy, he was starting. Because Denzel Burke had showed everybody early in his freshman year he had what it takes to be a lockdown corner. He has what it takes to be a guy that can start every single year he's at Ohio State, which is rare. You're playing a position where you're on an island every single down, and you go out there and you're not afraid of anything. You're just playing the football. Shout out to Denzel Burke. Shout out to Jeremiah Smith for doing what they did during their freshman seasons. Because, y'all, that's not easy. Think back to 2021. As the defense had a lot of issues, as the defense was going through shifts and changes, one thing that was a constant was if the ball went to Denzel Burke's side, you knew that thing was probably not going to be a completed pass. Now, some of those passes were completed, but a lot of them are batted down, or if it was a completion, it was a short gain. Why? Because Denzel Burke was that good. He just wowed everybody. And Tavian St. Clair is going to wow you not only good when he gets off the bus, when you watch him play, you're saying, oh man, he has it. He has some physical traits. He has arm talent that is rare. He has a lot of things that a lot of other guys don't have. One thing I know about Ohio State, talk to Jeremiah Smith, you can talk to Trevion Henderson, talk to Quinshawn Judkins, talk to Mecca Buka, talk to anybody at Ohio State, and especially those guys that have played under Ryan Day. They're going to tell you that learning this playbook isn't easy for no one. Jeremiah Smith took him a lot of time, but he's way more mature than the normal 18-year-old when he got on campus. Talk to anybody. This playbook and this playing style and the details of it, it's not easy to learn. And so for Tavian St. Clair, one of the benefits is he is not in a place where he is needed to play right away. If he was, and the need was for him to start right away, Ohio State might be in trouble. Not because he's not talented, but because, one, you're going up against Texas week number one. And I don't know who, it doesn't really matter who the starting quarterback is going to be that day. That's going to be a massive, massive test. Then you got to go, you got to play the team up north. That's going to be game number 12. You're going to have other games under your belt. However, you have to go there in the big house, and that's a tough place to play. There are other games on Ohio State's schedule that are going to be very, very tough, and especially when you're a newcomer at this level and defenses know all of this is new for you, that you are green. One word I heard when I was in church a lot, you're a novice. You have all of these things to describe how inexperienced you are. Defenses are going to be chomping at the bit to attack you, to go at you, to maybe bring pressure from your front, from your right, from your left, pressure from all sides. Why? Because pressure for a young quarterback is their kryptonite. Think about all the young quarterbacks you've watched, and think about one thing that has tripped them up over and over and over again. Buddy, it's that pressure from any side. It's tough. And especially when the pressure comes up in front of your face. And right now, for those of you watching the YouTube, you see my hand over my face as it's obstructing your view of me. That's the same thing that's going to be for a quarterback that's new out there that's trying to figure this thing out. This game is so much faster. Even if you play at the highest of levels in whatever state you're in at the high school level, playing at this level, it's a whole lot faster. I remember when I was in high school. I think it was our freshman year. And we were just getting, I think it was maybe 2-a-days. It was 2-a-days or early in the regular season, one of the two. And our coach talked about the difference between freshman football to JV football to varsity football. And luckily, every Thursday, we got the scrimmage to JV. We rarely won. The JV was good. We were good as a freshman team, but y'all, trust me, you're playing sophomores and juniors that are 16, 2 a year, maybe 2, maybe 3 years older than you, and they're trying to take your heads off and make a statement. Yeah, you're not supposed to win those. But one thing my coach said, even when we had those scrimmages, he talked about the speed going from freshman to JV to varsity and talked about how the speed of the game is so much faster over and over and over. Currently, right now, I'm covering high school basketball in the area where I live, and I go to a lot of JV games, get there about halftime, maybe middle of the second quarter. And one thing I would tell you is there is a difference in speed between the JV game and the varsity game. You may say, Jay, that's expected. You're correct. It's also expected for a freshman. When that man comes in, there's going to be so many things he has to deal with that he's never dealt with before. One of them being the speed. Going up against Caden Curry, Keanu Jackson Jr. rushing in, trying to take you down. Having to go up against Jermaine Matthews Jr. and IGB on the outside. Caleb Downs was playing defense too. Oh, don't forget Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese. You have a whole lot of guys that have played a lot of football at the highest of level, and they play at a certain speed that you've never seen before. So all of this about Tavian St. Clair, man, just go in there and figure it out. Take your time, learn the playbook. Get physically ready. Those ab workouts I talked about, Caden Curry, those are going to be some things that Tavian St. Clair might be discussing and saying this at the end of the day about, man, my abs are hurt. Man, my abs are sore for 3 days after that workout. Why? Because, man, I've never done stuff like this before. take it easy, man. You're not starting this year. It's okay. It's not a negative mark on your career to not start during your freshman season. It's only one of them Jeremiah Smiths. It's only one Denzel Burke. And Denzel Burke started because of an injury, not because he won the job in the offseason. Keep that in mind as we move forward with Tavian St. Clair, Julian SaYIN, and Lincoln Kienholz, and also the possibility of Ohio State bringing in a quarterback from the portal. Keep that in mind. With St. Clair's plan for 2025, don't rush that cat to get on the field. Let him get there. Let him figure things out. Let the chips fall where they may. Ohio State's going to let the chips fall where they may because they're the NFL team that is trying to pull their offensive line coach to the NFL. Thank y'all for tapping in Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. If you missed our recruiting update on yesterday afternoon, go back and check that out. Talked about a 4-star quarterback that Chip Kelly recently visited, and then talked about a 5-star running back, the number one running back in the country that Carlos Lachlan recently visited as well. Both those guys are really talented, and that show was a fun one. It was good to talk about some guys in the class of 2026 that Ohio State is heavily going after. There's an NFL team that's currently going after a coach at Ohio State. The Chicago Bears are reportedly interviewing Ohio State offensive line coach Justin Frye for the same position with the Chicago Bears. And this is something that I think is well-deserved. Justin Frye did a great job this year leading Ohio State's offensive line room. And in the midst of adversity and turmoil and injury here and injury here, and we forgot back at the beginning of the season, your starting left guard was sick. He missed a couple games. You're down to your ninth offensive lineman, and Justin Frye did a great job, even doing some things that were unorthodox to get this offensive line to play very well down the stretch, having paving the way for 215 rushing yards in the national championship game against Notre Dame, a well-respected defense in college football this year. Justin Frye did a lot of great things. He's helped lead and develop a lot of guys. Paris Johnson Jr. was a first-round pick under Justin Frye's tutelage. He helped Seth McLaughlin win the Remington Award this year. He helped other players, Donovan Jackson and Josh Simmons, who are probably going to be at worst second-round picks this year. He's helped so many guys during his time at Ohio State that this is something I think is well-deserved. And coming at a time that doesn't really shock me. Doesn't shock me at all. Being able to win a national championship is great. But being able to be Justin Frye and to do what he did with Ohio State's O-line this year, I think NFL teams respect that. Because NFL teams understand how hard it is to do what Justin Frye did. If you are ever down to your ninth offensive lineman, you're not supposed to make the playoffs. No, not at all. If you're down to your ninth O lineman and you lose one the week of the biggest game of the year, you're probably supposed to lose that game, which unfortunately Ohio State did. But also, you're not supposed to win the rest of the games you play. But Ohio State did win the rest of the games they played. Justin Frye really surprised me. Like, I was not expecting, just like I wasn't expecting to have a discussion about SaYIN and Kienholz right now if we were having this conversation predicting the offseason topics at the end of the regular season. My offseason conversation about Justin Frye, if we were going back to predict it at the end of the regular season, it wouldn't have been that an NFL team was trying to pull him from Ohio State. No, sir, Bob, not at all. It would have been more, So this year was a struggle. There were quite a few injuries, and all of a sudden, when the injuries happened, things didn't get put back together. The puzzle was not able to be restored. Okay, it's tough. I give you a pass. I don't give you a pass on the recruiting aspect of it, but I give you a pass because, man, it's just hard. Your left tackle goes down. Oh, your backup left tackle goes down. Okay, you move your guard to tackle. Okay, cool. Oh, your right guard's been struggling even before your starting left guard, your left tackle went down. But he's still in the field. He keeps playing. Donovan Jackson is helping keep him up and keep his spirits up. Oh, all of a sudden, the rivalry week, Tuesday before the game, the starting center goes down. The Carson Hensman, who has been playing left guard, when Donovan Jackson goes out to left tackle, all of a sudden Hensman goes back to his old starting role of center because he needs to. He's the next man up there. All of a sudden, you put Austin Cerebral back at starting, and oh, wait, we're going to rotate at guard. like I didn't go through every single bullet point of the O-line this year, but that was a quick snapshot of how insane it was all season long. Justin Frye figured it out. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if more NFL teams are trying to come after Ohio State assistant coaches. We all know that Chip Kelly is in reports and being talked to by the Texans and the Jaguars to be their OC next year. And last I saw of Chip Kelly, he was out on the recruiting trail doing in-home visits. One of them was with Brady Smeagol out in California. One of them was with I believe, a quarterback in Illinois. I know I saw him in a picture with another athlete. I forget that player's name. But Chip Kelly's still working, still got that block on his chest, and still doing the things to fulfill not only his contract, but fulfill the mission of next year is to run it back. Ohio State could definitely run it back. They might have to run it back with some different assistant coaches. Hartline's another one. It wouldn't shock me. I know of one school. I said that on a crossover with Zach Seiko. I do know of a school in the South I would love to have that has been trying to get Hartline down there to be at that school. It wouldn't shock me if somebody else in the South, or if somebody at a G5 level or a lower level P4 level has a head coaching position open. I wouldn't shock me if they try to bring him in. Hartline interviewed for the Cincinnati job. Was it last year or the year before? Hartline ended up interviewing for the West Virginia job this offseason. Last year, Jim Knowles interviewed for the Duke job, the head coaching job. This year, he interviewed. I know he was in discussion with 3 schools. I mean, it happens. You're Ohio State, win the national championship. Some people might be disgruntled, go out there and try to contact other schools even before the second game of the playoff. That whole situation is very, very weird. I haven't really dove into the Jim Knowles thing too much lately, because that thing, when I saw that, was possibly after the crossover that we had on Tuesday's show. Man, it was just weird. It was just weird to keep seeing and hearing some of the stuff that actually happened between Knowles and some of these other schools in the timeline there. Think about Larry Johnson, I think, is safe. James Laurinaitis is another one. He's one of the Buckeye legends that if things don't go the way he wants, the timeline isn't in his path, and let's just say McGarry does get promoted to be Ohio State's defensive coordinator, and Laurinaitis has aspirations to be the defensive coordinator at Ohio State, but maybe it's going to take him a little bit longer to get that role, and he doesn't want to wait that long. Maybe, just maybe, Laurinaitis is a guy, not saying this offseason, but maybe down the road, somebody's trying to say, oh, you want to be my LB coach at the NFL? You don't have to recruit. Oh, wait, I can make some good money and I recruit? Sign me up. I mean, for Justin Frye, the one knock on him during his time at Ohio State is his recruiting. What do you not have to do at the NFL level? Recruit. It's the same thing I think about when I think about a guy that's thinking about staying in school or going to the NFL. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, the player that's player A, no player in particular is in my head, but player A has an NIL package and a contract to do certain things. It's $1 million. Been at college football for 4 years. You could stay for a 5th year if you want to, make another $1 million. Or you could go to the NFL, make the same amount of money or more per year, and not have to go to class. If I can make the same amount of money or more per year, let's just say the same, go to the NFL, be a pro, and not have to go to class, even if it's online classes, there's still a portion of your day that is reserved for the class itself and the work that is needed to pass that class. Man, look, I might go to the league, be a 3rd, 4th round pick, and not have. I'm saying this as someone that don't like going. I didn't like school. I liked school. I didn't like class, if you know what I'm saying. And so every time I have these conversations about guys that go to the NFL and forego the final year of collegiate eligibility, I get it. You're going to get money. You're a pro, and you don't have to go to class. For Justin Frye, do what's right for him. Just do what's right for yourself and your family. If you feel like staying at Ohio State is the best thing for your career, great. If you feel like going to the NFL and going to the Bears is the best thing for you, great. Do what's best for your family. It's a profession. Coaches come in, coaches go out. It's kind of like clockwork. The good assistant coaches, they're here for a couple of years, maybe 3, and then they're gone. The Bud Fosters or the Brent Venables that was at a couple places for a long period of time, that stuff is rare. No. Joe Paterno being at a school for 30 or 40 years. Bobby Petrino being at a school for a very long. That stuff is so rare. So, not really surprised by it. The timing makes sense. The person makes sense. The spot makes sense. And his role at the NFL, the Bears all of it makes sense. Justin Frye, do what you feel like is best for you, man. And we'll be over here rooting you on and looking to talk about who might replace you if you go to the NFL. Thank y'all for tapping into Locked On Buckeyes here on a Thursday. You can follow me on Twitter or really any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. This has been Locked On Buckeyes here on a Thursday. We'll see you next time.